All right, welcome to the video here today for Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. I also sell my personal sports bets on patreon.com/BrockPage. Now you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side and total. And what I do on my website is I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on this channel that I'm actually betting on personally. Now, the link for my website is in the description section below. And with that, let's dive into some free content. Orioles, Guardians, 6:10 p.m. East. Cleveland's -160, totals 8. Cal Quantrill for the Guardians, Spencer Watkins for Baltimore. Now, we did see a 10-cent move toward Cleveland in the early wagering. Pretty good two-way action on the total. Now, Baltimore Spencer Watkins, he does come into today's ball game with an ERA in the 3s. The O's have also done a nice job cashing in on the run line here recently. They're 7-3 against the number in their last 10 outings. Anthony Santander, he's the club leader in homers and runs batted in. Meanwhile, Cedric Mullins leads the team in batting average. Now, they're facing a Cleveland squad who lost 3 out of their last 4. And they scored just 7 total runs during that span. And come to think of it, the Guardians have had their issues at the plate this season in certain spots. Of course, one of them being hitting for power. The Guardians are actually second to last in the majors right now in home runs per contest. Now, when it comes to the total, Cleveland went 9-1 to the under in their last 10 outings. Meanwhile, Baltimore went 80% to the under in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Baltimore plus 1.5, keeping this one close, under 8. Next game, little interleague action. I'm talking about the Rays taking on the Marlins. 6:40 Eastern first pitch. Tampa Bay's the $2.10 favorite on the road, total 6.5. Shane McClanahan for the Rays, Jesus Luzardo for Miami. And even though Luzardo's pitched really well, the Fish just don't want to win for him. He comes into today's contest with a 3-5 record. Meanwhile, as a team, the Marlins dropped 7 out of their last 10. And they continue to struggle at the dish. These guys are in the bottom 5 in OPS, and they're averaging only 3.6 runs a game. They also have to face one of the best pitchers in the game right now in Shane McClanahan. He's 11-5 with an ERA in the low 2s. Now, Shane O'Mac also got 182 strikeouts and a .86 whip. Now, the Rays also have played some really good baseball over the past couple of weeks. They're 7-2 straight up in their last 9. And they scored 56 total runs during that span. Randy Arozarena, he leads the team in RBI with 69 of them. Meanwhile, Yandy Diaz has the highest qualifying batting average in the lineup. Now, when it comes to the number, Tampa went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, the Marlins saw unders in 6 out of their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Tampa Bay -1.5, and the under 6.5 in that very tight window. Next ball game, little divisional action here. I'm talking about the Cardinals taking on the Reds. 6:40 Eastern start time. Now, St. Louis is -210 on the road, totals 10 runs. Dakota Hudson for St. Louis, Justin Dunn for Cincinnati. Now, we did see a nickel fade of the Reds in the early wagering. And Justin Dunn's got himself an ERA in the 5s along with a 1.50 whip. Now, as a team, the Reds lost 6 out of their last 8. And they've been miserable against divisional opponents. Out of 46 games against the NL Central this year, the Reds got the W just 19 times. They're also facing a Cardinal club who's been dominating the NL Central themselves. These guys actually have a .642 win percentage against divisional opponents. They also have one of the best hitting lineups in the league. These guys are currently in the top 3 in the majors in both scoring and OPS. Of course, Paul Goldschmidt, he's leading the majors right now in batting average. The Sluggers hitting .335 along with 33 home runs. Now, Goldie's actually in the top 3 in the league in home runs, RBI, and OPS as well. Now, when it comes to the scoring, 7 out of the Cards' last 10 outings did get over the total. Meanwhile, Cincinnati went 60% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis minus 1.5, over 10 runs. Next ball game, it is going to be the Athletics taking on the Nationals, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Washington's minus $1.20 at home, totals 8 runs. Eric Fetty for the Nats, Cole Irvin for Oakland. Pretty good two-way action on the side in this one. Half a run moved downward on the total. And even though the A's haven't won much for Irvin, well, Cole's certainly given these guys a chance to win ball games. He has been pitching well this year. The lefty's got an ERA in the low 3s, along with a 1.03 whip. Oakland also won their last 2 straight. They got the W in 5 out of their last 9. Sean Murphy's the club leader in batting average, home runs, and RBI. Now the A's are facing a Washington club on the other side of things, who lost 4 out of their last 5 interleague contests in the nation's capital. This Nats pitching staff is also arguably the worst in baseball. They're allowing nearly 6 runs a game, and they also give up more home runs per contest than any other club in the majors. This has really been their Achilles heel, just their lack of efficient pitching. Of course, they also have Eric Fetty on the mound, who's 5-8 on the year, with an ERA close to 5. Now, total-wise, 8 out of Washington's last 10 outings did fall under the number. Meanwhile, Oakland went 60% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the A's plus $1, under 8. Next ball game, it is going to be Cubs taking on the Blue Jays, 7:07 Eastern start time. Toronto's the $2.20 favorite, total 7.5 runs. Kevin Gausman for Toronto, Marcus Stroman for Chicago. And no real surprise here, guys. We saw a 10-cent fade of Chicago in the early going. Now, Marcus Stroman, he has had a tough time getting the W this season. He's got just 3 wins in 96-plus innings. As a matter of fact, he's 3-6 with an ERA in the 4s. Now, the Cubs have also dropped 7 out of their last 10, and they got shut out twice during that span. And really, if you think about it, that's really not all that shocking. Chicago's in the bottom 10 in the league right now in runs per game. Now, they're also facing Kevin Gausman on the bump, who continues to mow him down for Toronto. The righty's got 155 strikeouts along with a 3.15 ERA. The Jays have also been beating up on the National League at home. They're 6-2 in their last 8 interleague contests at Rogers Center. Of course, Alejandro Kirk, he's the team leader in batting average. Meanwhile, Vlad Guerrero Jr., he leads the organization in home runs and RBI. Now, when it comes to the number, 3 out of Toronto's last 4 ball games did get over the line. They're also 8-5 to the over in their last 13 against the National League. Meanwhile, the Cubs, on the other side of things, they saw their last 4 straight Stroman starts all get over the line. I'm going to lean toward Toronto minus 1.5, and the over 7.5 in the chalky lean. Next ball game, it is going to be Mariners-Tigers, 7:10 p.m. East. Seattle's minus 175 on the road, total 7.5 runs. George Kirby for the Mariners, Matt Manning for Detroit. And we got ourselves all kinds of movement in the early betting here. We got a 15-cent fade of the Tigers and a half a run move upward on the total. And even if Matt Manning continues to throw well for Detroit, he's probably not going to get the run support he needs. Manning, one of the few bright spots for the Tigers, but Detroit, they can't hit the baseball. They're actually averaging less than 3.5 runs a game for the whole year. And of course, they are dead last in home runs. No real shocker there. Now they're facing a Mariner team on the other side who does a nice job cashing in on the run line. They covered in 6 out of their last 10 ball games. They're also 38-27 against the number in all of their contests away from home. Eugenio Suarez, he's the club leader in homers and runs batted in. Meanwhile, Ty France, he has the highest batting average in the lineup here today. And even if the bats do go cold here for Seattle, they've got a pretty good one in George Kirby on the mound. Curbs has an ERA in the low threes along with 102 strikeouts. Now, total-wise, 7 out of Seattle's last 10 ball games did fall under the total. Meanwhile, the Tigers went 5-0 to the 5-0 to the under in their last 5 at Comerica Park. I'm going to lean towards Seattle minus 1.5 and the under 7.5 in the tight window. Next matchup here, maybe a little foreshadowing into the playoffs here. I'm talking about the Dodgers squaring off against the Mets, 7:10 p.m. East. LA's minus 135 on the road, totals 8.5. Andrew Heaney for the Dodgers, Taijuan Walker for New York. Now, betting-wise, we saw a nickel fade of the Mets in the early going. Now, the Mets have struggled getting the W when Walker starts. They dropped 3 out of their last 4 where Taijuan threw out the first pitch. And I'll tell you this much, this normally powerful Mets lineup, they were actually held to just 8 total runs in those losses during that stretch I just mentioned. Now, of course, they're facing a Dodger club on the other side of things who won 8 out of their last 10 themselves, and they allow fewer runs a game than any other club in the majors. Andrew Heaney's also got himself a 1.94 ERA and a 1.01 whip. When it comes to offensive production in this one, the Dodgers are also scoring more runs a game than any other club in the bigs. These guys pretty much leading the majors in, many statistical categories, pitching, hitting, fielding. These guys can do it all. But anyway, hitting-wise, Mookie Betts, he has a team-best 31 homers. He's actually 4th in the league in that category. Meanwhile, Trey Turner's 7th in the bigs in runs batted in, 5th in batting average as well. Now, when it comes to scoring, the Dodgers have gone 61% to the under when they travel. Meanwhile, the Mets saw 3 out of their last 4 in Flushing, Queens fall under the line. I'm going to lean toward the Dodgers minus 135, under 8.5. The next matchup, it is going to be Rockies-Braves, 7:20 p.m. East. Atlanta's the massive $3.85 favorite, totals 8.5 runs. Max Fried for the Braves, Jose Urena for Colorado. Now we saw a huge 50-cent move toward the Braves and a half a run move upward on the total. Now starting pitcher Jose Urena, he's had a tough time for Colorado this year. He's got only 2 wins on the season, along with an ERA close to 5. The Rockies are also one of the worst road teams in all of baseball. Out of 61 road games this year, Colorado got the W only 19 times. Needless to say, they're in the bottom 3 in runs per contest away from home. Now they're also facing Max Fried, who comes into today's game. I'll tell you what, he continues to shut his opponents down here this year. Fried's 12-4 for the Braves with an ERA of 2.52. He's also got 140 strikeouts and a 1.02 whip. And aside from winning 7 out of their last 10, this Atlanta lineup leads the National League in home runs. Austin Riley has a team-best 31 homers. He's 4th in the league in that category. Meanwhile, Matt Olson's 5th in the bigs in RBI with 87. Now, total-wise, 3 out of Atlanta's last 4 at Truist Park got over the number. They're also 7-3 to the over in their last 10 at any location. Meanwhile, Colorado, on the other side, they went 60% to the over in their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta minus 1.5, over 8.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Red Sox Twins, 7:40 East. Minnesota's minus 130, totals 9. Chris Archer for the Twins, Cutter Crawford for Boston. And we saw a 10-cent fade of the Bo Sox in the early wagering. We're also looking at Cutter Crawford, who has just 3 wins on the year and an ERA of 5.30. And to be honest with you, this Red Sox organization has fallen victim to some bad pitching all year round. These guys are in the bottom 10 in hits allowed, and they're also giving up more runs a game than most clubs in the American League. Now, they're also facing a Minnesota team who won their last 4 straight, and they averaged 6 runs a game during that time frame. Luis Arias is in the top 5 in the bigs with a .320 batting average. Meanwhile, Jorge Polanco is the club leader in runs batted in. Now, as a team, the Twins are in the top 10 in OPS at the dish. When it comes to the total on this one, the Twins did see 6 out of their last 10 meetings with Boston get over the line. So if you're into historical trends, you certainly want to think about that one there. Meanwhile, the Red Sox saw 3 out of their last 4 Cutter Crawford starts get over the total. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota -130 over 9. Next contest, it is going to be Astros Rangers 805 East. Houston's -165, total 7.5. Framber Valdez for the Astros, Dane Dunning for Texas. Now, we did see a 15-cent move toward the Rangers in this one. Half a run move upward on the total. But despite taking the early line movement, you got to consider the fact that Dane Dunning, he's won only 3 games this year in 129 innings. Now, Dunning's also got an ERA of 4.19 along with a 1.37 whip. So certainly not doing all that great for the Rangers. And when it comes to offensive production, well, Texas, they're in the bottom 10 in strikeouts at the dish. Having a tough time making contact with the baseball. Now they're taking on Framber Valdez, who has 13 wins on the season, along with a 2.65 ERA. The lefty's also got 142 strikeouts and a 1.13 whip. When it comes to hitting the baseball, the Astros can be very dangerous at the plate. They're in the top 5 in homers, and they're led by Yordan Alvarez, who's in the top 5 in home runs and OPS. Meanwhile, Kyle Tucker, he leads the club in RBI with 82 of them. When it comes to the total, Houston saw their last 4 straight on the road get over the total. Meanwhile, the Rangers went 4-0 to the over in their last 4 at Globe Life Field. I'm going to lean toward Houston -1.5, over 7.5. Next ball game, little AL Central action. I'm talking about the Royals taking on the White Sox, 8:10 Eastern first pitch. Chicago's -130 at home, totals 8. Lucas Giolito for the Sox, Brady Singer for Kansas City. Now, we did see a nickel fade of Kansas City in the early betting. Half a run move downward on the total as well. That in mind, though, Brady Singer, he's certainly getting the job done for KC this year. He's 7-4 with an ERA in the low 3s. He's also fanned 120 batters and has a 1.11 whip. When it comes to cashing in on the run line, the Royals have done a nice job covering the 1.5. They went 60% against the number in their last 10 outings. Bobby Witt Jr., he's the club leader in RBI with 65 of them. Meanwhile, Salvi Perez, he leads the team in home runs. Now, they're facing Lucas Giolito for the White Sox, who has an ERA in the 5s along with a 1.50 whip. The White Sox also play their worst baseball at home. These guys have a .468 win percentage at Guaranteed Rate Field. Now, one of the Sox' biggest areas of concern is run production, or lack thereof. These guys are in the bottom 10 in scoring, bottom 3 in homers. When it comes to the total, 3 out of Chicago's last 4 home games did get over the number. Meanwhile, the Royals went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Kansas City +1.5, over 8. Next matchup, little NL Central action. I'm talking about the Pirates taking on the Brewers, 8:10 Eastern start time. Milwaukee's the $1.80 favorite, totals 9. George Costanza for Milwaukee, Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh. And, of course, when I say George Costanza, I mean Jason Alexander. Jason Alexander for Milwaukee, Mitch Keller for Pittsburgh. Nickel fade of Pittsburgh in the early betting. Now, Mitch Keller, he's got double-digit losses on the year along with a .450 ERA. As a team, the Buccos dropped 8 out of their last 9. And they actually rank second to last in the majors in team batting average. Now, they got to face Jason Alexander for the Brewers, and he's lost just 1 game in 53 innings. Meanwhile, as a team, the Brewers are winning 60% of their divisional home games. Of course, Rowdy Tellez, he leads the team in home runs. Meanwhile, Willie Adames, he leads the team in runs batted in. And if you don't already know, this Brewer lineup is in the top 3 in the league in home runs. Now, total-wise, Milwaukee went 7-3 to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Pirates saw overs in 6 out of their last 10 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Brewers, -1.5, over 9. Next contest, a little West Coast action. Talking about the Yankees taking on the Angels, 9:38 East. New York's -155, totals 8.5. Jameson Taillon for New York, Mike Mayers for Los Angeles. 15-cent move toward the Angels. A lot of blowback here with how bad the Yankees have struggled. Now, for Los Angeles, starting pitcher Mike Mayers, he's yet to lose a game in 34-plus innings. He's got 32 strikeouts and a 1.25 whip. LA's also done a pretty nice job cashing in on the run line. They're 60% against the number in their last 10. Now, pitching-wise, they're in the top 10 in opponents' batting average, really doing a nice job keeping their opponents off the base paths. Now, they're taking on a struggling Yankee team who's on a 3-game skid themselves. They also failed to cover the 1.5 and 4 out of their last 5 road games. Now, total-wise, New York went 9-1 to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, the Angels went 60% to the under in their last 10 outings themselves. Give me the Angels +1.5, under 8 and a hook. Next ballgame, Phillies, Diamondbacks, 9:40 p.m. East. Philadelphia is $1.35 on the road, total 7. Aaron Nola for the Fighting, Zach Gallen for Arizona. Nickel fade of the D-backs in the early wagering. That said, though, Zach Gallen's lost just 2 games through 138-plus innings. This guy gives you a chance to win every time he's on the bump. He's 9-2 on the season with an ERA in the 2s. Gallen also has 138 strikeouts and a .97 whip. Meanwhile, as a team, the D-backs are on a 4-game winning streak, and they scored 33 total runs during that span. Christian Walker is 8th in the league in homers with 30 of them. Meanwhile, Josh Rojas leads the lineup in batting average. And when it comes to getting on base, well, the D-backs lead the majors right now in home walks at the plate. They're taking on a Philly team who, for some reason, doesn't like to win for Aaron Nola. Aaron's got a losing record right now in double-digit losses. Matter of fact, the Phils took the loss in 5 out of their last 9 Aaron Nola starts, and they scored only 8 total runs in those losses. Now, when it comes to the scoring, 3 out of Arizona's last 4 at Chase Field got over the number. They're also 7-3 to the over in their last 10 at any location. I'm going to lean toward Arizona +1.5. And the over 7. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. It is going to be Padres taking on the Giants, 9:45 Eastern first pitch. San Diego's $1.20 on the road, total 7.5. Blake Snell for the Pods, Logan Webb for San Francisco. Now, Webb's got 11 wins on the season with an ERA in the low 3s. He's also punched out 130 batters and has a 1.19 whip. And even though the Giants have really struggled here recently, they still have a winning record at home, and they do a nice job hitting the baseball there. The Giants are still in the top 10 in home scoring, and they're led by Wilmer Flores, who has 60 runs batted in on the season. Now, the Giants are facing Blake Snell here today, who has a losing 5-7 record, along with an ERA in the 4s. When it comes to hitting the baseball, the Pods have had a tough time hitting for power. They're actually in the bottom 10 in home runs per game. Now, when it comes to the total, 3 out of San Francisco's last 4 on the road did get over the number. I'm going to go ahead and lean towards San Francisco +$1 and the over 7.5 runs. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. I like Baltimore +1.5, under 8 runs. Give me Tampa Bay -1.5, under 6 and a hook. St. Louis -1.5, over 10. Oakland +$1, under 8 runs. Now, real quick, guys, if you want to see which one of these free picks on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. I like Toronto minus 1.5 over 7.5. Seattle minus 1.5 under 7.5 runs. LA Dodgers minus 135 under 8.5. Atlanta minus 1.5 over 8.5 runs. Minnesota minus 130 over 9. Houston minus 1.5 over 7.5. Kansas City plus 1.5 over 8 runs. Milwaukee minus 1.5 over 9. LA Angels plus 1.5 under 8.5 runs. Arizona Diamondbacks plus 1.5 over 7. With my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward the Giants plus $1 over 7.5. With that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. Now, guys, real quick, just a friendly reminder, if you do end up getting a membership here today, Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up, and then the first of every month following that. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. So if you're on the fence, maybe you want to think about waiting until September 1st. You're going to get your max value waiting until the first of the month. Now, guys, if you want to get access to every single bet, every single package, every single day, you're going to want to sign up for my board member package. It's an all-inclusive membership. You get access to everything. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.